Welcome to the FitBiz Accelerator, your ultimate guide to launching, growing, and scaling a thriving online fitness business. I'm your host, Tobias Young. And whether you're just starting out or looking to take your business to the next level, this podcast is packed with actionable tips, real-world strategies, and the insights you need to crush your business goals and build the business of your dreams. Now that you're here, let's dive in. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the FitBiz Accelerator podcast. And today's episode is going to hit a little bit different because we're talking about something that every fitness professional needs to understand better. So how do you motivate somebody to move when they don't naturally want to exercise? That'll be one of the target key things that we're going to do. And honestly, this applies to way more than just one population. It applies to the busy mom who says she doesn't have time, to the guy over 40 who knows he needs to get healthy, but he keeps putting it off, the client who signs up, they get excited for a week and then they disappear. And yes, it applies to populations that are underserved and overlooked and not always given the same opportunities in fitness. And my guest today is John Watson, who's the founder of Bloom. It's a fitness program for people living with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And John spent 32 years in the mortgage industry, and he started and he sold a mortgage firm to a publicly traded bank. And then about 12 years ago, he took a completely different path. He built Bloom, inspired by his lifelong commitment to fitness and by his amazing daughter who lives with an IDD diagnosis. And today, Bloom has grown over 50 locations in 7 states, and their program has an incredible 90+% retention rate. So today, we're going to be talking about motivation, emotional connection, building a mission-driven fitness business, and how fitness professionals can grow by serving people better, not just selling workouts harder. John, welcome to the show.
Hey, man. Good to be here with you, Tobias.
All right.
Yeah, sounds great.
And John, I'm excited for this one because your story is a little bit different from a lot of people that we bring out. You didn't start another boot camp or another online, coaching program. You stepped into a population that has a lot of the fitness industry. Honestly, they don't talk about it enough. So before we get into Bloom and what you've built, give us the backstory real quick. Like, you were in the mortgage industry for 32 years. And what was life like before Bloom?
Yeah, so I was just a business dude, right? And I was just lucky enough over those decades to have some success at it, right? But like you said, I've been around fitness my whole life. It's been part of our family. And so I've always known it's important. Been important to me as well. But I think kind of what you're talking about, so you're right. So just so we can get some definitions here so the audience really understands. Sometimes when we say a term like intellectual and developmental disabilities, like, hey, what's that, right? And think of it as like autism. We hear that term a lot, Down syndrome. But there's a lot of people. It depends how you define it. But there's like 10 million people in the United States that might, fall under them. So you're right. We'll talk about some concepts, but the coach that may not serve a population like this go, wow, that doesn't apply to me because I'm doing the mom or I'm doing the businessman or something like that. Yeah, maybe, but I don't think so. I think the concepts that we've learned that work, that connect with this population, it's a little different. No question about it. But I think those concepts apply to basically any person at all. So, but I just, when we decided to retire, we wanted to help this population. And I will tell you, I'm going to be really honest with you. So a lot of times when you start a business, Tobias, I know you consult people, it's like, I have this plan and I'm going to go execute this plan. And I'm going to review the plan. And then I'm going to do that over and over. And I did that in business, but I'll be very honest with the audience. I didn't have a plan. And as a business person, that's really scary. It's like, right? I am used to, especially I was in the mortgage industry, it's finance, right? And it was a mortgage banking firm with there's a lot of components to it. All I knew is there was a need in this population. I knew I had a connection with this population because I have a daughter. She's 29 years old. So I've been around the population for decades. But here's the benefit. Here's the benefit not having a defined plan. I became a good listener, right? And in this population and with others as a coach, we have a tendency to go, you know what? I'm going to tell these people what to do. And this is what they're going to do and stuff like that. But what I learned from that is that your customer, in this case, I'll use our term, our athletes. If you listen to what they respond to. And that's where it started. That's what helped me develop the program, is that I had some concepts on this. We started with the group fitness cycle and all this stuff. And I had done that for decades. I had taught indoor cycle and all those things and group fitness. But it was really interesting. It's like, well, what's going to get them to want to show up, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, I know this is what's good for them. And I think we have to be very careful as coaches. I'm just going to say this because you've got a lot of great podcasts. I think sometimes as a coach, we think we're going to be like telling them what's good. But I think a coach is not telling people what to do. A coach is walking beside them through a journey to help them get to do the things they want to do. Yeah. And that's kind of where we started with Bloom. And I have some crazy stories about how I actually learned. But yeah, I don't know if conceptually that makes sense. So
yeah, it definitely does. And you also mentioned that Bloom aligned with your lifetime commitment to fitness and also your experience as a father of a daughter who lives with an IDD diagnosis. How much did your daughter influence the creation of Bloom? And then what did you see missing in the fitness space for people living with intellectual and developmental disabilities?
Yeah, it's a good question. I just want to say this as I think we do best and develop a program. And a program, we'll talk about the difference between like doing classes and creating a program. You asked my daughter's name Emma, right? How did Emma is that I think we do best in creating whatever we're doing, whatever business, connecting with who we are, right? Connecting. So as we talked many times, I had the fitness, and then Emma is part of who I am, right? And so I just see that the impact that movement, and let's just use this term, movement has on every population. And there's just a gap. Again, when we're thinking about our fitness businesses, is that I know there's things we want to do, but we also got to think like, where are the gaps? And there are a lot of gaps out there in a lot of different populations. And so with Emma and being around others, not just my daughter, because I had the opportunity to be around others and other families. And we heard over and over and over again, it's like, well, if I asked a person that has a family that has a person with an intellectual disability, that their response, right? I said, well, what do you want for them? They would have their list, but getting them to choose to move, that's one of our terms. That person to choose to move is on the top 5 every single time. It's like, I can't get my person to want to move. And so that's one of our mantras is that, and it's kind of our mission is to have every person with an intellectual disability to lead them to a lifetime of fitness where they lead them to choose a lifetime of fitness. So anyway, I don't know if that's,
Yeah. And a lot of trainers think motivation comes from better workouts or better programming or harder classes or better music. But you've said something really powerful. A great fitness class or coach doesn't always make it necessarily the motivation to move. Making an emotional connection almost always is. Can you unpack that? What have you learned about motivation that most fitness professionals completely overlook?
Yeah, I think, again, where it starts is that, having a program, creating your program based on who you are. And here's why this emotional. People are very intuitive, right? They know if you're real. And so we have a term here that we are trying to make an authentic connection with the athlete. Mm-hmm. And again, in our world, that's the term we use. And there's reasons we use that. And even with somebody that may have very limited movement within our population. But let me ask you a question, Tobias. What's the hardest thing and it also happens to be the most important thing of exercise? Showing up.
Yeah, doing it.
Right? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay. No worries. Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. That's the hardest part. We can talk about metrics, and I think you should. As a coach, we've got apps and other ways to all these type of metrics. But we know one thing. If somebody will continue to show up, metrics will happen. Exactly what they will and stuff. And so I'll lean into that a little further, right? What shapes behavior? And so it's like, so look, our classes are fun. Our people think their classes are fun. We do about every different format that you can possibly think. And that's great. You got to have that piece. You absolutely have that piece. But a great fitness class, whatever modality it is, that doesn't necessarily shape behavior. right? We have to be honest about that. If it did, there are a lot of great classes out there. But I don't know, Tobias, you probably know this stat better than I do. About 80% of America doesn't exercise, right? So a great Pilates class, nothing against Pilates, we do Pilates, is that does not necessarily shape behavior, right? But if you can make an emotional connection with anybody in any way, it almost always does. And so when we're thinking about our business, you're going to have your type of exercise and the type of things that you want to impale on somebody. And that it's critically important. But what I've learned is that and we do that too. We do different classes. We learn and we do classes where they can be more impactful. But what I'll tell our staff is that, look, whatever those new things are, whatever those great things are that we think that are great, it passes through the portal of making that emotional connection, right? So back to your question, I apologize, is that what are some of the ways that you can do that? Okay. So we're group fitness. That's what we do primarily. So and we do a lot of it virtually. We can talk about the mechanisms that we actually do that later if you'd like. But what is group fitness? Fun with friends. Look, that sounds insignificant, but a lot of reasons that our athletes show up is that, I want to have fun with friends. Fun is an emotion, right? We have a very, very defined goal system. Every time they show up to class, it's like, I'm at class 13. I'm at class 35. I'm at class, we have people at over 900 classes, right? And so they know they're on a journey, right? So what can a goal system possibly do? And we can talk about how you can do your goal system and all this stuff. Well, a goal system can create a sense of pride. It can create a sense of accomplishment. Those are emotions.
Yeah.
Those are emotions. So that's just a little bit of how we approach it.
Yeah. When someone comes into Bloom and maybe they're hesitant in the beginning, right? They're uncomfortable. Maybe they're distracted or they're just not interested in exercising. How do you get them to participate? What are some of the first things you do to help them feel comfortable enough to move?
Right. I mean, first of all, this is interesting. Again, think about our population. I mean, let me draw some differences to help you kind of understand our perspective, right? So you and me may wake up one morning and go, man, I got to lose some weight. Or man, I want to be stronger so I can do it. Our population doesn't necessarily connect the dots that way, right? And so our burden is even bigger and opportunity, I would say the same thing, to connect with them. And we'll actually have them in the first class. We'll have some. And one thing about people with intellectual disability, there's no filter. They're going to tell you the truth. And it's hilarious. And almost every time they'll show up and they'll go, yeah, I don't like to work out. We'll go, okay. And they'll go, well, and I'm not going to do this. And we go, okay. Well, let me ask you a question. Do you like music? Yeah, I like music. Do you like having fun with your friends? Yeah, okay. Well, why don't we start with that? And so when we're thinking about in the general population is that back to the thing with the coach, what a coach is. The way that I think to your question, Tobias, is that we ask good questions, right? In other words, what is it? And I'm just going to say this gets into psychology and we won't go down the rabbit hole too. I would suggest that you don't ask why. A lot of times you ask people, why do you want, they don't know why. People, if you ask me why I want to do something, but you can say, what is it about exercise that thinks that you want to do this, right? Mm-hmm. And when you can ask without sounding like you're interrogating, which takes some, finesse, what is it? What is it about that you think are the barriers for you? And you start building a relationship, and that's kind of what we do with them. When I ask this line of questions is that, what are you looking for? What is that connection and stuff? And so we take the time, and if you're doing it on the individual basis, that's great. You can take that time. But again, think about it this way, back to the emotional connection. A lot of times when we're coaches, we want to say, okay, so let's go. We're going to start with this weight, and we're going to start with this movement and stuff like that. It's like, I would suggest you don't do that. Even if your first session is just talking to them and trying to create that connection with them, they will stay with you. And I say, we talk about this ridiculous retention rate. And again, it's because of those connections we've made with them. And we always say that a lot of times through this emotional connection, we're tricking them to show up. We don't care why they want to show up. We're just glad that they want to continue to show up. So
yeah. And you have a retention rate of over 90%, which is phenomenal. And also, a lot of online trainers and fitness coaches and gym owners are listening to this. And many of them are constantly thinking, like, how do I get more leads? How do I get more clients? How do I keep people longer? How do I stand out? So, from your experience to growing the business to 50 locations in 7 states, what do you think fitness business owners should be paying more attention to?
Right. So let's go back to the connect to who you are. Look, the beauty of all this technology is that we can go anywhere really, really quickly, and we can take our skills anywhere. So think about where, that might be. Like, for example, so I'll tell you what we do, and I can bleed it into some maybe other things you might think about, right? So in the world of intellectual disability, adults in these populations, they go there for day services. There are thousands of these locations around, right? So they're already going there, right? But they're doing a lot of different things for this population. And so, but they don't know how to do fitness. They definitely don't know how to do fitness in a persuasive way where they want to do it. They desperately know it needs to be part of it, of what they offer. And so when we first started, and this is kind of one of those things, it's like I'm going, and we were learning that this was like actually working, and we were seeing people move that we would hear from their caregivers. The gentleman that just crossed 900 classes, his parent says she couldn't beg him to exercise before, right? So, but the point is, it's like, look, man, I wasn't going to go take the risk of renting a lot of space. And so you go where they already are, right? And so that's what we did. I mean, and think about it from your perspective. I mean, from anybody's perspective. Are there retirement places that are desperately wanting fitness? A workplace. Of course, you can do it in people's homes, but you got to find a way to get there. And there's all sorts of social groups that you can go to. They try to open some doors for you.
Yeah, that's a good point in there. And one of the things I talk to coaches about all the time is the power of specificity, not trying to serve everyone, not just saying I help people lose weight, but really understanding a specific population and then building something meaningful for them. And you've done that with Bloom. But what advice would you give to a fitness professional who wants to serve an underserved population, but maybe they're nervous, maybe they're unsure where to start, or they're worried that they don't have the right experience?
I've listened to some of your podcasts, and there's a term, and it's really good. Sometimes the imposter syndrome, we think we're not good enough to do that. We all have to work with that. Look, you do have something to offer. And again, look, when I say connect with who you are, let me just try to peel that away just a little bit, is that, look, a lot of times I'm also a wellness coach, you hear people that are helping others, right, in a lot of ways. And it's like, well, how did you start doing that? Why did you start? And they'll tell their story about themselves. I was overweight myself, or I was borderline diabetes. You might be like an individual that's like, I had a family member that had this challenge. I mean, obviously, Emma is the challenge. Some people might say I have intellectual disability, but so that's another story. Yeah. But that's, again, connecting. So think about your life and the ways. I know this sounds like really vague and stuff, but we all have stories. We all have things. We all have family members. We have businesses and stuff that we're connected to. As an adult, you've already had a lot of experiences. And I just think sometimes and a lot of times biased, we think it has to be some grandiose thing, right? In Bloom, how many athletes we started with? 7. Yeah. We started with 7. And we said, I know there's a need here, so let's go there and see. Here's the other thing. Let me tell you how this goes. If you can go, you can download our app, you Bloom Fitness. If you see the sideways heart, you'll see it. And you can download it for free. Is that you'll see that the technology is gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. And you'll see the numbers. And the goal system and being able to measure it. And I'd like to talk about the goal system a little bit and how simple that can be, right? The measurements. But I was actually teaching at a really large fitness organization. And they came in and they said, I was teaching I had my group, my cycle class and stuff. Anyway, they came up and after class, they go, where's my sticker? And I go, your sticker? What are you talking about? And so I didn't know what it was. And so I went to the group fitness manager or whatever. I said, what's that deal with the dang sticker? And this was these people have money in this club, right? And they said, oh yeah. He said, we said that if you go to class, you get these stickers. I said, oh, okay. I said, well, what do you get? And it was the biggest bunch of nothing ever. So, right. I got a piece of construction paper. So we just started Bloom. I got a piece of construction paper. I put people's names on it. And every time they went to class, they got a sticker. And as simple as that sounds, I realized that measurement is so important. Think of Peloton. All right. What does Peloton do? They count the number of classes. They call out the number of classes they do. That's all they do. But they realize how important that dang number and that electronic badge. The advantage you have is that you can do stuff like that too. There's a couple of messages there. One, have some metrics that are hard to get, okay? Do those and meaningful ones, whatever those are. But the way you get people to stick with it is give some measurements that they can do and they can realize soon, so that they have some success, right? Have some success. And the advantage you have over Peloton, no, you're not a multi-billion-dollar corporation, right? You can personalize it. You can personalize whatever those measures are, and you can connect you.
Notification. Yeah. Putting those things in there. Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, I think so too. And you've gone from an idea to around 50 locations in 7 states. And that's not just impact, that's real business growth. What were some of the biggest lessons that you learned in scaling Bloom? And what has been different about growing a mission-driven fitness business compared to your previous career in the mortgage industry?
Well, it's not that different. It's just, I will say, we are a nonprofit, so there's dynamics. But the dynamics are saying, look, if we don't have money coming in, it doesn't exist. So there's two sides, right? You got to have the revenue, and you have to have a cost structure that's flexible, right? And so let me just kind of say what that is. So you could say that, and we do with all the organizations we partner with, that they pay a fee, okay? And we also raise money. But here's what I've learned about people that donate money. You have to have value. If you're not creating value, nobody's going to give you a dime, right? So it's the same thing you have to do. It's like when I was in the mortgage industry. And we didn't have value. But the other thing is, and this is the benefit of technology and being able to do it, is that there's no need. In my opinion, there's no need to create this expensive cost structure on your side, right? Look, people ask me today, are you going to open up? Because we have like, in Southwest Florida, we have like 8 locations, right? They go, well, when are you going to open like in a retail center with a big neon sign Bloom? I go, I don't think I'm going to. I don't need to. I'm reaching thousands of people and without it. And so when you're thinking about, when you're making those decisions, just keep in mind that you want a cost structure that's low. So then when the revenue side's not exactly there, and there are so many different ways to do that. Challenge yourself to do it in a low cost structure. Because when you screw it up on the revenue side, because we always do, it is that you'll be okay. You'll continue to be okay. And if we challenge our way, and that's what we did. I'll tell you one of the ways we do it. So think about this. Let's say I'm going to make up something here because that's my skill. I make up crap. And so let's say that you're saying, what, I'm going to work with retirement communities or this club. What we do is sometimes we'll do live virtual. We have a trademarked live virtual. It's called Bloom Live. And so everybody loves that. But our videos too, they use those too. But we teach that location how to lead class with the video.
Okay.
For example, right? And so that's leverage, right? So they're using our videos. We're not there, right? But we train them and they use the technology where somebody's leading class. Look, it's kind of like if I go to a group fitness class, I'll give you an example. So they would want to do a yoga class on their own. Great. I said, well, is anybody there a certified yoga instructor? Well, no. I said, okay, well, let me ask you, can you lead a class with our bank of videos and pick some and lead it, but actually lead the class, have fun with people, call their names. We just give them the practices. Well, guess what? They have the goal system and all that framing up, and they're leading classes. We're not there.
Yeah.
We're not there, but they're just loving it. And so
Yeah,
just one
having
of the ways to
that
look at it.
personal connection is just huge in there too. And John, I got to say overall, this has been awesome, and I love the conversation because it reminds us that fitness is not just about workouts and macros and before and after pictures, right? At its best, fitness gives people confidence and it gives them connection and it gives them belonging. And for the fitness business owners out there listening, this is the big takeaway. People do not stay because your workout is cute necessarily. They stay because they feel connected to you and connected to the community that you've built and connected to the version of themselves that they're becoming. That's how you build retention. That's how you build a meaningful brand. And that's how you build a fitness business that actually changes lives. So, John, where can people learn more about Bloom and be able to connect with you?
Yeah, just go to bloomfitness.org. I mean, you can see just an approach. And look, I love sharing with people what we're doing. And just that one last thing on what you said, I think, Jabaz, you summarized it really, really well. And it's just a different way to think about it, right? It really is a different way. And one thing about the community, maybe what do you think about they creating a network between your customers, right? That's one of the things we do. I mean,
Yeah.
how powerful is that?
Yeah.
And I don't care if you have 10 customers or 100 customers, you could absolutely do that. So, anyway.
Yeah, great thought on that. And then I want to do some rapid fire questions. So these are quick answers. Just first thing that comes to mind.
Rock on.
All
Rock
right.
on.
What's one word that you would use to describe Bloom?
Compelling.
What's one thing that most people misunderstand about people living with intellectual and developmental disabilities?
That they have something to offer to all of us in ways that you've never, if you connect with this population, we always say with our volunteers and other people and stuff is that they give us 1,000 times more than we could ever give them. And that's what that population can do.
Nice. What's one quality that every great fitness instructor needs to have?
Humility. And what that does is and patience to be a listener. Because there's a thing is that when you're talking, they're in control. When they're talking, you're in control. So learn ways to get your people to talk to you and learn ways to get them to do that in a way they'll tell you the truth.
Nice. What's more important for long-term retention, the workout or the relationship? Easy one for you.
Come on, relationship. Come on.
What's one business lesson that you wish you knew earlier?
Well, I'm going to play off the last question. Relationships matter. Look, there's two ways to look at business. It really is. I don't care what the business is. It's transactional or relational, right? And I even did that in the finance business, is that transactional is, it's like, what's the lowest cost? Relational is connecting with people, trust. And that sounds like some foo-foo, like, okay, it plays tangible. It will put money in your pocket if you can build relationship.
Nice. Yeah. What's one thing your daughter has taught you about life?
Oh my gosh, you get me to crying? You want me to cry here in front of everybody? Is that everybody has value. And look, I wasn't around this population until Emma. I wouldn't even know it. And if you'll connect with somebody, even if you don't think they have to offer, and you'll be open to different things. Emma has an intellectual disability, but I'm going to tell you, I've learned more from Emma and perspective. She has more challenges than you and me, but she's happy.
Yeah, that's
right?
Beautiful.
And so that population will always draw perspective for you.
Nice. What's one simple way that fitness professionals can be more inclusive?
Well, that's a good question, Tobias. I would just say be open to connecting with people that aren't like you, right? It's just, we all have biases. Come on, right? We make judgments. We should never pass judgment. But it's just, if you'll just be open to people that aren't like you, that don't look like you, that don't talk like you, it's amazing how it would open your world.
Yeah. And what is your final message to the fitness industry?
The same one where we started. Realize that your success is going to be tied to your ability to make an emotional connection with your client. And don't think that's just, again, foo-foo stuff. Look it up, and it's super tangible if you do it in the right way. And then everything else that you do will unfold after.
Nice. All right, guys, that is a wrap for today's episode of the Fit Biz Accelerator podcast. Huge thank you to John Watson for joining us and sharing the mission behind Bloom. So if you're a trainer, if you're a coach, if you're a gym owner, take this episode seriously, because the future of your fitness business is not just about better marketing. It's about deeper connection. It's about understanding who you serve. It's about creating a place where people feel like they belong. And when you do that, growth becomes a whole lot more natural. And as always, if you got value from this episode, share it with another coach who needs to hear it. And I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Fit Biz Accelerator. If you found value in today's episode, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a tip or strategy to grow your online fitness business. And if you're ready to fast track your success, don't forget to check out tntfitprocoaching.com. Until next time, stay consistent, stay focused, and keep crushing it.